All right, welcome to the last section of chapter 1. We're going to talk about exponents and then about putting it all together. So all of the operations together, how do we go about that? What order do we use on those operations? So first, a bit about exponents. So multiplication, we know is shorthand. It's a shortcut way to do repeated addition, right? So if you have 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, another way to write that is 4 groups of 3 or 4 times 3. Exponents are the same thing, but for repeated multiplication. So 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 equals 3 to the power of 4. Or you could say 3 to the 4th power. Okay, so when you see this notation, think you take that big number and you multiply it the number of times shown by the little number. So here you multiply it by itself 4 times. Now, just so you get used to doing that on your calculator, let's try. So if we do 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, we'll get 81. On your calculator, you should also be able to use your power button. So on my calculator, it looks like I would type in 3, and then I would use a button, and I have to find it again here. I think mine says X to the Y. Hang on. Oh, mine says Y to the X. So Y to the power of X. So I have a button that looks like this. And then I would press, so I would press that button. And then I would press the 4 and equals, and I will get 81. So see if you can do that on your calculator. That'll be a good skill to know for later on. If you have difficulty with it, let me know, and I can help you. You might have a button that looks like this instead, and that would be the same. So 3 to the power of 4 like that. And then check it, see if you can get 81. Okay. A few rules for you. So if you have a number raised to the first power, let's do that in example B here. We've got 4 to the power of 1. Well, that's saying take the big number 4 and multiply it by itself 1 time. So that's just going to give us 4. So any number to the power of 1 is just that number. Another rule you should know is that any number other than 0 raised to the power of 0 equals 1. So any number aside from 0, if you raise it to the power of 0, the answer is 1. And you can try that on your calculator. You can go 4 to the power of 0, and you should end up with an answer here of 1. Earlier, I talked about orders of 10, and those are really powers of 10. So that's what this chart is explaining here. So if you have the number 10, for example, you can write that as 10 to the power of 1. If you have 100, another way to write it is 10 to the power of 2, and so on. So all of these are orders of 10, and really what they tell you is how many zeros that number has. That's the order of 10. So 10 to the power of 2 equals 100, which has 2 zeros. 10 to the power of 0 is the weird one, right? 10 to the power of 0 we said was 1. So even 1 is a power of 10. So you can add all the zeros you want. You can always express those as a power of 10. Okay, let's say we were asked to evaluate these. So 6 to the power of 2, or another way to say that is 6 squared. So first of all, what is that saying? Well, that's saying take that big number, we call that the base, and multiply it by itself 2 times. Okay, so the answer here then is 36. Okay, 6 to the power of 2, another way to say that is 6 squared. On your calculator, you can either do that using the button I just showed you. So you could go 6, and then on my calculator, it's y to the x, and then 6, and then equals. Often you'll also have a squared button. So on my calculator, I could go 6, and then I have a button that says x squared. So you might have something a little bit different. If I hit that, oops, then I don't have to hit the 6 again because it knows it's squaring it. So I would go 6 x squared equals, and you should get 36. Another thing I should mention about calculators is the second function button. So on your calculator, if it's a scientific calculator, you'll probably see some writing that is a different color, maybe just above some of the other buttons. So on my calculator, I have my regular buttons, and then just above those, I have some writing in orange. To make it do the orange thing, so for example, I've got one that says 10 to the power of x. You might have one that says y to the power of x up there in the second functions. To make it do the orange thing, I have to press the second function key first. So then it'll kind of turn that button into what is shown in orange. So once again, let me know if I can help you with your calculator usage. Okay, next one, 7 to the power of 1. Well, we could type that into the calculator, but we already said anything to the power of 1 is just itself, so that would be 7. 7 to the power of 0. So any number besides 0 to the power of 0 is 1. 2 to the power of 3. Well, we could do this on our calculator or by hand. What is that really saying? It's saying take 2, multiply it by itself 3 times. So that would be 2 times 2, which is 4, times another 2, which is 8. See if you can verify that with your calculator. 10 to the power of 0. Go ahead and pause and try these next two. So 10 to the power of 0, you should get 1 since it's a number to the power of 0. And last one, we have 5 squared, which is 5 times 5, or 25. All right, the next thing we want to talk about is order of operations. So sometimes we have multiple operations that we're doing on a problem, and we need to know what to do first. Order sometimes matters. This little diagram here shows you what to do first. So the very first thing you want to do with a problem is anything that's stored in brackets. Okay, so that's our B. Then we move down to E. This is going to spell bedmas, by the way. So we've got brackets, we deal with those first. Then we're going to go to E. We're going to deal with any of our exponents. So that would be the powers, i.e. powers, like to the power of 2 and so on. Next, we're going to do division and multiplication. You can actually do these at the same time if you want. You just want to do them left to right. Once you've done all the divisions and multiplications, then you want to do the additions and subtractions, once again, left to right. Okay, so they've got some examples here, and they show you how to kind of make a funnel as you work your way down the page. Now, this first one's interesting because we say, aha, we're going to start with our brackets. We've got brackets, but then within those brackets, we have an exponent as well as a division. So within that bracket, you kind of have to do bedmas on it. So we're going to start with the E, with the exponents there. So that 12 squared is going to become 144. So that's our first step. Once we're done that, we still have to deal with our brackets. So we're going to do 144 divided by 6, which would give us that 24. Okay, leave everything else as it is. Okay, now that we're there, what are we going to do? Well, we've dealt with our B's, we've dealt with our brackets, but we still have an exponent on that 1. So the next step would be to deal with that exponent. Here, that's going to become a 1 because 1 squared is 1. Now we've got division and multiplication. And so we could do that left to right. So here they've done the division first, 24 divided by 2, that gives us 12. And then we're going to multiply by the 1 to get to 12. Okay, take a look at that second example too. So here we have no brackets, but we have an exponent. So we deal with the exponent first. So there's our E, D and M. So we want to deal with any division and multiplication. So in this case, that's only this 4 times 2. So we deal with that next. Lastly, we want to do addition and subtraction left to right. So we start there, we get 1 plus 8, that leaves us with 9. So let's try some of these. Okay, so first one here. So we have no brackets and no exponents to deal with. So now we're down to division and multiplication. We have a multiplication here. So that's the first thing we're going to want to do. So we'll get 21 there. And now we can add those two together to get 29. Go ahead and pause this video and try that next question. Okay, let's do it together now. So we have a division that we want to do and a multiplication. We're going to do those left to right. So this gives us 9 times 2, which is 18. All right, next one. Okay, we have some brackets this time, so we have to start with those. 2 plus 4 gives us 6. So now we have 6 squared divided by 6. Okay, we've dealt with our brackets. our next thing to deal with is our exponent. 6 squared is 6 times 6 or 36. So we're going to deal with that next. I guess I could draw in my brackets here. There we go. So we get 36 divided by 6. Now we can do that division to end up with 6. Okay, let's do a challenge one. Okay, so we've got a little more going on here. Well, we want to start with our brackets. So let's do that. I'll just rewrite everything here. That 3 minus 2 then is going to become 1, which is squared. Next step is exponents. So we're going to deal with that exponent. 1 squared is 1 times 1, or just 1. So that reduces down to just a 1. Okay, next step. We've got a lot going on here. We want to do division and multiplication left to right. So we're going to want to deal with this division. And then we're going to want to deal with this multiplication. We can actually do them at the same time if we want, or you could take 2 steps. So we'll have 5 plus 4 minus 2 here. Now we're going to do addition and subtraction left to right. So we'll have 9 minus 2, which gives us 7. Go ahead and pause the video and see if you can do the next one on your own. Okay, so last one here. So first step is brackets. So this set of brackets is going to become a 2. And then this set of brackets here will also become a 2. Okay, now we have to deal with our e, so our exponents. 2 cubed, well, you could do it on your calculator, or you can do 2 times 2, which gives you 4, times 1 more 2 gives us 8, plus 2 squared, which is 2 times itself, so we get 4. Now we can do that addition, and we end up with 12.